Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome to this episode of how to build a fingerboard. So what we're going to do today is mount the trucks to a board that we've already put through a mold. So this is 4 layers of very thin birch wood that we've put wood glue on and then put in a mold for 24 hours, pop them out. And I've been playing with some holes right here. And so what I'm going to do now is demonstrate the technique that seems to work the best. So first of all, make sure that you sanded your edges, the bottom and the top smooth. The edges are important. This is what you're going to be feeling and touching as you play with the board, and instead of a sharp edge, it's nice to have a smooth edge there. So plus, when you do that, you get a chance to kind of see the cool 4 layers of wood that we've glued together there. So we're going to take our truck and place it with the bolt facing in. So the bolts face in, usually just at the top of the board, at the top of the curve where it gets flat is where you want to put your trucks. And so you're going to have, of course, 2 of these, but I've already done the holes for the front, so I'm going to do the holes for the back right here, and make sure you can see what I'm doing. All right, so the best thing to do is start with a T-pin. These holes are very small, and so again, right in the middle on the flat, make sure you take your time with this step. The difference between a quality board and a crap board really comes down to this step. So I'm going to push and wiggle a little bit in each hole, making sure that I don't move the truck at all. Make sure that you push and wiggle, because the tip of this pin does not leave a very big impression. In fact, you can almost not see it. So I have a Sharpie handy, and I can see the hole, but not very well. So I'm going to mark those with my Sharpie. This board has a name on it because it was left behind by a student last year who didn't finish. So we're using this as our example. So there are my marks, and they're not perfect because the tip of the pin is actually smaller than the holes, but as long as I'm touching that mark, I should be fine. So next we take our small punch, and we're going to poke and make a little bit of a bigger indentation than that pin could do. So here's where you want to be. Again, attention to detail. Right on that mark. If you do not do this step, if you skip this step, you're going to have a harder time getting your drill bit to follow that hole. It's going to, what they call, walk. Your drill bit's going to walk around, and you will not end up with good results. So I've got a drill bit with a 2 millimeter diameter, a drill with a 2 millimeter diameter bit, pretty small bit. But if I didn't have that indentation, this is where it would walk. But right now, it doesn't want to move because of that indentation. And I can just go straight down through. Now, I actually am on my desk, so I really should have a block of wood here, or be doing it on top of something other than my desk. So I'm going to hold it up and drill sideways, which I don't like to do, but I also don't want to. Be careful it doesn't walk here. You still want to start slow, and I think I'm just already walking just a little bit. Yep, I don't want to walk. So I'm going to make that hole just a little bit, the indentation a little bit deeper. And I think I was off right there just a little bit. It's easy for that. The tip of the I'm just going to double check. can see how easy it is to mess up. I think actually I'm okay there. I think I was okay. It looked like it was walking, but it wasn't. So, no, I'm fine. So, but the tip of the drill bit is not a perfect point. So, start slow and then increase your speed and pressure. All right, so there's my hole, my first hole. All right, and let's go with the second one. Make sure it sits in that indentation. Push and apply a little bit of pressure, slow. And then once you're happy with what it's doing, increase your speed and go straight through. I end up with some pretty good holes because I went straight through, and then I kept the throttle on. So let's get it sit in that indentation. Go slow. And I'll show you what I mean here. I go through, and then I also throttle out, like that. So you don't want to just pull it out. It will make it a little bit more jagged. So make sure it sits in that indentation. And at the end, if you have a hard time getting it to sit in an indentation like I am right there, that means I probably don't have a big enough little divot, we'll call it, because it should sit right there. Go slow, and then fast, and then out. Okay, now if you did it correctly, you might have some rough edges on the other side, and this is where the grip tape's going to be, so you will want to take your sandpaper and sand all that back away. We want that to be smooth. All right, on both sides. I would take sandpaper and sand both sides. And then here's the step that you really want to take, just another minute to do this. If you were to put the screw in now, and it's difficult sometimes to get the screw in these with your fingers, but that screw is going to sit above the level of the board, and you're going to feel it underneath the grip tape. So we want quality of construction in our projects, and so what we want to do here is take a larger punch. So before I use the small punch to make that little indentation, now I'm going to take this larger hole punch, or punch, not a hole punch, punch, and I'm just gonna, it does go out the other side, but it's way too big to go through, and you can see the tip of this punch gets gradually bigger, which is perfect because we can twist and push, and what that does is it gives us a nice little like ledge. So I'm going to twist and push, and I also like to kind of spin it and wobble it just a little bit. I'm also going to sand it again, so I don't have sandpaper here in front of me, but sand this again, and now when I put this little screw in, it's going to fit flush to the level of the board, so that when I put the grip tape on top, which is right here, this grip tape is going to cover that up anyway, but you're not going to feel those screws. They'll be completely hidden. So, and by the way, the screws go directly into the truck. So once you get those holes drilled, you're going to use your little one of those little truck screwdrivers right here, and they're designed to put your finger on one end and twist with your fingers. So again, this will take a little bit of patience to get everything lined up correctly. Believe me, I've done it a bunch of times, and you just want to make sure everything's lined up and do one screw at a time until you've got all 4 screws in. So one of your grades is that all 4 screws are attached to the board. So I'm going to hold that in place while I use my little baby screwdriver and twist. And you don't want to strip the threads, but it should go into your truck fairly easily, which now it's doing. So once I get and as you tighten it more, it's going to sit down in that little recess that we created And don't crank it down because it's going to pop up the other side of your truck. So don't go really tight yet. You want to get, because you want it to be able to wiggle, so you can fit every screw through those holes. And then once you get all 4 screws threaded, then you'll go back and you'll hand tighten each one. So that is the technique for attaching your wheels and trucks to your custom fingerboard. So give that a try. For now, Mr. Johns is out.